Welcome back to another episode of the Space Force mascot Moonicles. Today with the Rose Guardian and the Game of the HAWC. Diary entry from 25th July 2020. It was a sultry night when I was walking in the sickle moon's yellow light on the bridge that connects the east and the west. The times of kings and spies have left their marks in the stone walls and columns, and the old casino had forever closed its doors. The stars were moving in different directions, while the distance between them stayed the same, and I stopped to watch the water to the north. When I turned around, I was surprised to see a beautiful old Alfa Romeo with shiny rims of steel suddenly standing in the middle of the bridge. The top was down, and a dog was sitting behind the wheel. He wore sunglasses and looked into my direction when tapping his paw on the passenger seat. And since I was the only one here, chances were quite high that he was talking to me, and I felt lucky. Because with a hot red sports car on the Autobahn, only the sky is the limit. I accepted the invitation and took a seat next to the dog. I comfortably sank into the leather and said, "This is a really nice car." "Yes," answered the dog. "The car was my idea." He then gave me a pair of sunglasses, and I put them on, looking forward to my next mission as first Space Force mascot. A white cloud descended and swallowed the car and carried us forth without moving. In one wiggle of the tail, we arrived on a mountain top, and it was impossible to say where the mountain ended and the clouds began, in this abode of snow above the sickle moon. As we walked away from the car, seeing it from the distance, popping up like a cornrows in a field, I remembered the story about a sick man who rode the family dry cleaning business over to his two sons, and they began to argue, and one thing led to another, and one brother killed the other and became sick himself, and all within the father's lifetime. And the last thing he saw before leaving his abode on earth was a red flower in the sand where he had buried his son. I grabbed some snow and formed a large snowball, and just to see if I could do it, I aimed at the car in the distance, calling back to memory my fairly impressive three-point shooting skills I acquired during my young schoolgirl years, when I played on a very successful basketball team that even made local notable news when we won the Northern German Championship in Sweden. The following proves that a girl can indeed throw a ball. Not only did I hit the car, I also made it disappear. It began to slide backwards, and when it had vanished from our view, the dog nodded his head and said, "That's what I call a lucky shot." We continued to walk in silence for hours or weeks. There was no difference between night and day, and the scenery of snow and clouds never changed. There was absolute stillness, and our steps didn't make a sound, nor did they leave any footprints. When some famous 4 words came into my mind, and before asking, "Are we there yet?" we arrived at a sign made of ice with the letters HAWC carved into it. And as I read the word, the dog explained, "High Altitude Warfare Command." Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the commander, acting oversight of the shooting division. Considering the fact that dogs don't have thumbs, I wondered, "How do you pull the trigger?" He laughed and showed his paw to confirm the missing thumb. I didn't understand, and he laughed some more. His laughter turned into a howling that made ripples in the clouds, and a bright flash of yellow light came shooting at me, and I softly fell into the snow, the blue sky being the last thing I saw before falling asleep for 1 day or 100 years. I woke up surrounded by trees loaded with fruits and nuts, on a bed of soft evergreen grass, covered with yellow, blue, and white little flowers. And there was no sign of the High Altitude Warfare Commander. I decided to ask the flower fairies for direction. "Excuse me, where am I?" A daisy answered, "In the rose garden." I thanked her for the information and wandered around until I saw them, all red and almost double my height, with thorns the size of my middle finger. Standing around a spring of water. I carefully proceeded through the thorns towards the spring to have a taste of the crystal clear water. I enjoyed it very much, when I suddenly noticed a man standing between the roses, watching me. When he saw that I saw him, he asked, "Are you the first Space Force mascot?" I confirmed, and he added, "I didn't expect you to look like this." "How did you expect me at all?" "They told me you were coming," he explained, pointing the finger in the direction of the flower fairies. "They also said you would make it through the roses and drink from the water." "I see," I said, and wondered, "And who are you?" He stepped out of the roses and answered, "I used to be in the dry cleaning business, but I'm a gardener now." This rang a bell, and I asked him, "What happened to the dry cleaning business?" He said, "On the day my father had signed it over to me and my brother, an avalanche came from the mountain 33 kilometers away. It hit without warning in the middle of summer, and the snow buried the whole village, and everybody died." "How did you make it out alive?" I asked. "I don't know. I just woke up, laying on a huge mountain of snow, and I had these," he said, and showed me some scars that looked like bite marks. "Fascinating," I exclaimed, and he continued to tell his survivor story. Far and wide, there was nothing but snow, and all I saw and ate for months was snow, until it had melted away. And where once there was nothing but sand and dry cleaning businesses, the evergreen grass appeared, and trees loaded with fruits and nuts, and the little flowers and the fairies, and the spring of crystal clear water popped up from the ground, guarded by roses almost double my height, with thorns the size of my middle finger, all red except for 6. He showed me a spot outside of the roses, where 6 small white roses were standing in the shadow of a fig tree. We watched them move in and out of the sun again, and when the sickle moon's yellow light was shining on the little roses, the gardener explained, "It's 1 rose for every dead body. I'm the only one out of 7. Was your father by any chance a sick man?" I asked, and he answered. Everybody in the village had the disease. Even my brother was starting to develop symptoms. Sometimes I think that this avalanche was a lucky shot. As if on cue, the same old Alfa Romeo was suddenly standing in the middle of the grass behind us. "Oh, look! It's my friend, the high-altitude warfare commander, acting oversight of the shooting division. And I have a feeling," I said, pointing at the gardener's right foot, "that he knows a thing or two about rescue as well." The commander gave us a big smile, showing off a magnificent set of teeth to confirm my feeling. We spent the rest of the night laying on the evergreen grass in the sickle moon's yellow light, listening to the flower fairies tell a story about a kingmaker and a white ship disaster, and how the protector of the land emerged from the battle on Wakefield. Before daybreak, the dog and I made our way back to the bridge that connects the east and the west. And before leaving, the guardian asked me to let you know that there are no winners in the Wars of the Roses. Thank you for listening. See you again next time.